Alright, lads and lasses, welcome along. Tuppence Tuesday. So today we're going to cover something interesting. Power BI, why should I care? Right? Because a lot of people would be in that position. We didn't use it. I don't see the point in it. What's the benefit? How's it going to make my life any better? Yeah? So let's compare and contrast where you are, right? And no matter what you're doing, you're going to be doing one of these two. I have to say, everybody is using this, right? Even if you're going to go down the traditional BI route of something very different. But the core piece to understand, traditional, right, is quite a high cost. There's a cost of entry to it, which is significant. That cost of entry tends to mean that you limit who can have access to the actual reporting tool. So these platforms are built to send out extracts. And those extracts might be as basic as CSV, but you're going to more than likely have some kind of a nice formatted, pretty picture style of things that gets emailed out to management on a regular basis. So that's your traditional, right? And the main thing to draw attention to is that there's that high cost of entry, and very often it's dependent on coding. So someone has to learn some very specific skills to be able to decide or define and build report packs within it. So that's a core piece of that, right? Then we're getting into modern BI now. So these are the tools that have come up in the last 10 years, really. So with those, what they're tending to focus on is more around that desktop-based or even the cloud. How can we do this where we're not allowing or forcing you to use specific server-based infrastructure? So you can suddenly bring a much broader range of tools or analysis into your environment. So by definition, your traditional BI environment will tend to be focused on a specific platform. So it might be tied to an ERP system. It might be tied to your sales system. You've kind of got that idea that there's something going on with it. Whereas your modern, it tends to be based more on subsets of data from lots of different environments. That tends to be the way it starts or the way it goes. Right? Now, this goes hand in hand with the origins. So the origin story for it, not X-Men, right, or anything else like that, right? The origins of a lot of these, what does this have to do with anything, as he's saying, right? As I'm trying to say here, right, is your central IT ends up supporting your traditional BI, whereas your stealth IT functions, right, will end up invariably being down the modern BI path. Now, when people talk about modern BI solutions, right, they're often meaning something like Power BI, right? The reality is, if you go down and you actually start piecing together what modern BI actually means, invariably you come back and you go, actually, modern BI has been around probably longer in some ways than central IT's traditional BI platforms, right? Excel has been around a lot longer. Spreadsheets were invented before word processors, right? Strange but true. Promise you, right? So if it's a spreadsheet is the basis of modern BI, how on earth are we now saying, we found these brilliant new tools, right? The reality of these new tools is it's actually the amount of stuff they can crunch. Now, I remember going back, 10, 15 years ago, Excel 2003, something like that. So I think it still had the 64,000 row limit. 64,000 rows. You want more than that? You have to do something different. You have to go into your traditional BI. And that's where spreadsheets have really led to traditional BI. And now spreadsheets are leading to modern BI. And the two are something that people are struggling to understand a lot of it. So if you think about that, right, way back when, right, back in the early days of spreadsheets, right, so 90s, in the mid-90s, I've got a spreadsheet, it's telling my boss lots of facts and figures, it's doing lots of calculations, might even have been able to do something with some charting, right? Wouldn't be as pretty and colourful as we can do now, but, pivot tables were like a revelation for a lot of people. You could crunch a lot of numbers with a pivot table. To try and do that by hand, just forget it. right? Even using your traditional SQL servers that you would have had back then or other databases, you'd still struggle to get those kind of tabular queries rewritten. So what you end up with was amazing. That was groundbreaking stuff for a lot of businesses. Businesses that could leverage that succeeded. We now need to do more. So suddenly the server-led environment came through. So SQL Server Reporting Services, SSRS, was pushed into the fore. Suddenly it became a requirement to be able to do more. Cubes became the way. That was then the focus. How do we do these things with these OLAP cubes, or other cubes are available, but cubes, analytical engines to effectively allow you to combine and look and slice your data how you needed it. But they were complicated and they were slow. So what would happen is you might get an extract. Here is your weekly extract. Here's your monthly extract. Those then get fed back into spreadsheets, right? To then find out, here is the next stage of your analysis. So I've now got my spreadsheet built from the cube that was built from the spreadsheet. Right? So now I've got my spreadsheet. And that then became a case that these spreadsheets were being more and more capable, to the extent that they were almost as capable as the traditional BI solution that was there, which has then led to the question, well, why am I using this when I need here and that's not doing it for me? Cue what we now call modern BI. So the likes of the Tableaus, the Clicks, the Power BIs, all were invented because the spreadsheet, Excel, effectively, had got about as powerful as the ERP solutions built-in reporting pack. And once you get into that idea and that mindset, it starts to become, so how do we really do it? What's the next step? So the core thing with this to understand is that this stealth IT function with Excel spreadsheets, right, it leads to a conflict. You've got the two sides are at conflict with each other. And the goal now is about how do we bring everyone back together? Yeah. How can we get things pulled back together and get rid of this toxicity within our business environment? So how do we do it then? Yeah. So we need to embed the process of good data management. Yeah. It needs to become embedded. So you need to get to the point where you've got your central IT function back curating your data. You got your stealth IT function being involved, being supporting, and actually being supported by your central IT function. So your traditional BI isn't going off doing what it wants to do, and your business is going off doing what it wants to do. And the twain just, didn't get on there, right? And then the rest of the business has access to a lot more reports and data now. So how do you know if it's time for you to consider a change? And by a change, of course, I'm going to say Power BI is the way to go, man. There's no one else out there, right? So it's time for a change. When, right? Have you got a folder full of spreadsheets, right, that get sent to you weekly, daily, monthly, annually by an ERP system, by somebody running a script or doing something, right? If you've got that, indicator number one. Indicator number two is if you spend hours producing the same report, daily, weekly, monthly. So if you've got a daily report, I have a daily report that I have to send to my managers. I have a weekly report that I send to my managers. I have a monthly report that I send to the board. Yeah. If that is you, have a think. Okay. Right. And then, of course, the final little cherry on the top, as far as I'm concerned for this, if this is you with this little cherry, right, it's time for a change. If you are presenting AOB items more than one reporting cycle back or in the future, from back, right? Definitely it's time for a change, right? What do I mean? So I've produced a monthly report pack and it shows there's a little blip somewhere and a senior manager go, so lovely. Senior managers are always posh, aren't they? They're not always posh. I'm a senior manager. I'm not particularly posh, right? What's that there? That looks very wrong. Explain that number to me. So you have to take an AOB item, go away, come back next month, and we're now reporting on it. And that might even come back with even more questions. And then you're going like, why am I really doing all this nonsense? Doing that, it doesn't benefit the business. It makes you very anchored in the past. If instead you can actually produce a report pack that shows interactively and they can drill through and go, oh, I see that there's issues here, blah, blah, blah. Or even better, that they're aware straight away because they've got access to the reports as they go forward, there's a chance of them actually doing something. So if this is the case for any of you, I'd recommend you go through, look at some of the dataset videos that we've done. Right? Certainly reach out, contact me. Got the website, all the tools are there for you. So, and hopefully we'll catch you soon. Yeah. Take care. Ta-da.